What's up, everyone? This is Brian Trautschold, and we are back with the Sales Operator series. I'm actually thrilled today. I'm not always thrilled, but I'm thrilled to be meeting with Morgan Ingram, a good friend of mine. Came up in the sales world in SDRing, doing a ton of amazing frontline content on LinkedIn. I think is how I originally got to know you. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's awesome to see you again. It's been a minute, but here we are. Excited to have a conversation today and see what we can unpack, see what people can learn.
I was psyched when this worked out because, like I said, I feel like you've lived it. There's a lot of people who haven't lived the
Mhm.
challenge of what it's like to be a seller, what it's like to be in demand gen, trying to build pipeline. And not only have you lived it, but you're still close. You're still going and training reps and getting in front of people and going through the process.
Mhm.
And if I'm being honest, there's a lot of folks we talk to or who I meet with that are so far removed, they don't still feel it. They don't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Maybe just real quick, I saw the sales team 6 thing on the website and I'm like, dude, this is sick. How do you frame that up when you're talking to a CRO or VP of sales and you're like, hey, this is our program?
Yeah. So obviously, if most people probably know, but if you don't know, where did I get it from? SEAL Team 6. And
Yeah.
I started really studying and understanding what does that mean, right? What is SEAL Team 6? So essentially, at the most core of it is it's obviously a special unit within the military, but you only can get there due to your tenacity, principles, foundation, and your commitment level to actually going towards greatness and success. So in realizing this, when I was working with John Barrows, most of you listening, you probably know who that is. If you don't, he's been in sales training for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, trained Salesforce, all the big companies in the world. I remember him saying that most reps that go through a training are not going to take any action from it. There's only about 10 to 20% of people that are going to take it seriously. So when I'm talking to a CRO or a VP of sales, I say, hey, look, my goal is how can we find the people in your organization that want to take this seriously and commit? And I want to primarily just work with those people. And because I know if we could push them to another level, it will have a forcing function that everyone will be like, I have to catch up. And so I work with people that are committed. We're finding ways on how can we be creative with our outbound? How can we be different? How can we stand out to generate that pipeline? But that's where Sales Team 6 came from, is that I'm coming with the commitment level to push you and we're all going to excel together.
I mean, one of the things that I'm sure you're like a tactical dude. I know you're probably thinking about this, but I love anything that has this sounds pretentious, but an air of exclusivity. I only
Yeah.
want the people who want to
Yeah.
go hard. I only want the people who are really trying to push themselves.
Yeah.
Because then inevitably everyone's like, I want to push myself.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I want to
Exactly.
be sick. Yeah, that's brilliant. And another thing I like from that, and I'm totally a fanboy on this kind of stuff, but at least in our culture, you see SEAL Team 6, you're like, these dudes have the most advanced stuff. They're out there by themselves. They're
Mhm.
blazing a trail. They're adopting new techniques, like you said. And so my first maybe question into the meat of it is you're dealing with these high performers or people who are the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
What's true from a tactics or things they should be doing that's different than it was, pick a time frame, 12 months ago, whatever?
Yeah.
What have you seen that's oh, that doesn't work anymore, and now you've got to try some of these type of things?
Yeah. I think it's just tactically, yes, but I actually want to take a step back and talk about it from a perspective and mentally. So a lot of people are just like, cool, I can throw AI into research. I can do a really personalized AI research email. And if I send that out, it'll be great. Well, thing is now everyone's caught on. Everyone's doing that now. So we got to think about that. Then the other angle is like, all right, I'm just going to fire up all these domains and send out a ton of emails just like, cause I can. It's like, well, that doesn't work as much anymore because the emails are getting harder to get through, right? So these are just examples.
Yeah.
So now what is occurring when I work with teams is, yes, I'm teaching them things tactically, but I'm also getting them to think psychologically and also buyer perspective wise, how do people move and how do they operate? So
Yeah.
that's what I've actually been doing, is really pushing people's thought processes on, like, okay, I tell you to send videos, but instead of sending videos in your office, maybe we need to go outside and do a walk so people feel like they're like seeing you in real time, like it's a real person. It's like,
Yep.
maybe instead of doing a formal message on LinkedIn, just think about writing to someone as if you were talking to them at a coffee shop. So these are just mental shifts in different perspective and viewpoints that have led to people now producing better results, because now they're looking and viewing it differently.
What's interesting to me, and I've had versions of this conversation, I'm curious to get your thoughts, but like there are all of these ways that we move toward automation. Automation was kind of like the early mover, and then like personalization, and now like really, really customization. Um, and all of that stuff, it kind of ends up blending to like be more vanilla, if that makes sense, or
Mm,
more, like you can pick up that it's clearly not actually sent from a human, or that it was like primarily done with AI.
mm,
And the inverse thing you're talking about is like, how do you amplify the humanness of your messaging? Like you're like
yeah.
walking around outside, or you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're typing like you're texting to them or whatever. You like, deformalize the language that you're using.
Yeah.
Like is that just are we gonna see just this massive trend to like, what up, dude? I wanna work with you guys. Like, how do I get a contract over?
So this is how I'm viewing everything. Is I think I forgot exactly who it was, but it was maybe last week, posted about how we're going back into the 1990s
Mm,
of selling.
okay.
That's what's happening. So if you look at that conceptually, what I tell people is there are three components you now need to focus on, which is the first part is the URL. So URL and context, what I mean by that is, how are you doing digital selling? So that's LinkedIn, if your buyers live there, that's email, that's cold calling. That's how you get people's attention to be like, who are you? Right. Then the next layer is, once you started to build these relationships digitally, and I'm telling you everything I'm doing right now too. This isn't me just saying stuff, like I'm doing this for my own business. Now I'm going URL. So, oh no, IRL, which is in real life. So now I'm hosting pickleball events, paddle events, dinners, experiences. I'm collaborating with more people. I'm just getting out in the field, because I believe that in the next 3 to 4 years, it's going to be incredibly difficult to connect with anyone from a digital perspective, because there'll be so many bots. People will be overwhelmed and annoyed. Right now, the stats say that there's 51% of the internet is bots. And I guarantee you in 12 months, it's going to be like 70%. It's just what it is. And then the
Yeah.
last component is, I got the
I'm
Pokemon
I'm
hat on.
get I'm getting stressed as you're talking. Like, yeah, keep going.
But the last point is you got to catch them all. And what I mean by that is, you're like, what is he talking about? You need to be getting as many cell phone numbers as possible. This is my whole thing right now, because if digital is going to get more difficult, and it is, you could debate it, but you can go look at the stats. If people are going to start trusting people less because of AI, I know if I have someone's cell phone number, it's a 99% open rate according to the data. So if I have people's cell phone numbers, my
Mhm.
communication level is going to be easier. I can do more events. I can ask for referrals faster. I can make moves faster because I have more numbers. But the only way to do that is you got to go meet more people in person, or get those digital relationships to text. And that's the main rotation and flywheel people need to have. Now, if you're stressed, I can call your stress, but this is the mindset of a sales leader and a rep right now. You got to go back to you're in 1995.
You're building I mean, what is multiple layers, and I kind of want to dig into each of them, but I guess my first reaction is like, and we haven't talked in, I don't know. I don't know the last time we talked, at least a year. And I'm
It's
like,
been a
holy
couple years.
shit, I totally agree with everything you're saying. And that to me is, I guess in one way I'm like, okay, cool. I'm thinking about this in a way that I think a really smart person is thinking about it. The other side is I'm like, oh shit, the clock is ticking,
Yeah.
and smart people realize the clock is ticking too. So to, I don't know, assuage some of my fears or concerns, let me hit on the first one, and less about like the channel, but you said build relationships. And I think that thing got lost over the last
Mhm.
10 years. We treated everything like, frankly, we treated it all like a sequence or a cadence. And it was
Yeah.
like, it's all transactional. And you said build relationships. To me, that means more. What does that like mean? If you're talking to a seller or a team of sellers, what is like, how are you describing that?
Yeah. So I start with what you just said. I'm not it's not sales ops fault. It's not
Sure.
outreach's fault. Like, so for someone's like, oh, are you blaming them? Like, no, it's not their fault. It's just you had metrics to hit. There were things you needed to do, and you ran these cadences sequences, and you ran it at scale. But what that does is that becomes more transactional than relational, right? So what I'm
Yeah.
telling sellers is like, yeah, you can still run these campaigns to get in front of people, but your mindset needs to shift. And also my mindset in my own business is the same way as well, is every client I work with, I'm like, this might be the last client I ever get.
Mm,
Not from a scarcity mindset, because I always will get
yeah.
more, but I'm
Right.
coming from a different mindset of like, I'm going to treat this as if this is the last one I'll ever have. And then
Yeah.
I'm also treating the messaging like, if my message was shown to the board, would they receive this? Would it actually be a good message? And when you shift your perspective and mindset to that, your behaviors and you will operate a lot differently. Sure, you can go on LinkedIn and get stressed out when someone says, I booked 60 meetings in a day. That's ridiculous because, like, that doesn't make any sense. But if you look at it conceptually, it's like if you focus on the two things I just shared, you will move and operate a lot differently than the other reps. And in the long term, you will win because if you're transactional, you just won't last long overall in the next decade, to be fair.
Well, a thing that I'm pulling from that, and I'll try to put on my therapist hat for a second, but to mirror that, it's like how you make them feel. I think that we all made our customers or prospects feel like they were part of a transaction over the
Yeah,
past many years. Once again, not like because of specific vendors, but like even the way we track the sales process, we're like, oh, you're in this stage, which means this needs to happen, this needs to happen. It's like,
yeah,
we're having our second conversation. If we would just met and we did a demo and then next conversation, I'm like, Morgan, who makes the financial decisions at your company? And you're like, dude, I barely know you. Like what?
yeah.
Um, and so like I think we put all of this like weird structure to fill in CRM fields and to fill in whatever versus like, having a genuine to act and to treat them like you were saying, like how you move. Like if you're treating them like the last customer, then you're not like, oh, cool, I need to fill in the CRM field on this conversation and figure out
Right.
who has the decision making power in this organization. Like
Exactly.
I'm going to treat this person. I'm going to invest in the relationship, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah, man. I love that message, and I think that we have all, or I don't know. I'll speak for us. I've seen so many people blow that over the past many years as we just process oriented every single thing for like scale and repeatability versus like building a relationship.
Yeah, I definitely made that mistake as well. I feel like I my own personal being used to be I have to prove people wrong and I have to always stay ahead and I don't want to be behind. So when you have that, you you're not trying to be, but you can be transactional in certain things that you do because you're
Yeah,
trying to move so fast.
it's always
Instead
the
of
next
being
deal.
like, yeah, the next deal, the next thing, boom, boom, boom. I'm trying to, instead of being like, let me slow down a little bit. I could probably be a little more intentional. There's probably things I'm missing. And so that's how I operate today. But I understand why people operate that way because you're just like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I got to go here because you're trying to hit these goals and things of that nature. But you could still hit them if you just treat it a lot differently with intention and you can move a lot differently because of that.
I like that word intention. I feel like that's really, really well said. And I think, for sellers who hear this, for anyone like this is stuff you can change in your process, in your approach right now. Let me go down. Let me take us down a little, rabbit trail here, conspiracy corner. I hear you. I hear you describing dead internet theory over here about where we're about
Yeah.
to be. Are you subscribing to this like I am?
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm looking at the data.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the month and a half, I've been very fired up as I've been reading more and more data. I feel so drawn in. I've been reading about loneliness. So 67% of Gen Zs have reported that they feel lonely. It's a pretty high percentage. If you actually look at Pew Research, it says that in the last 12 months, there's been a report due to AI that people's critical thinking skills have gone down by 40%, right? Most people don't have close relationships at all at this point. More time on social media is being spent from Gen Zs. They spend about 10 hours collectively in a day of watching reels. So what am I telling you? All these things are people feeling more and more disconnected overall. And if we go back to the original stat I said, if 51% of the internet is bots, that and it continuously increases, why would you want to be on the internet if it's only AI and robots? You're going to want to go out and connect with people. So you can see this as a forcing function that this will actually get people to connect more and have conversations, elevate thinking and thought. I do believe that will happen. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm also saying because that is occurring, I don't think there's any time for you to like dilly dally around if you're trying to do something digitally, because I just don't think that people will be as active in the next few years if this data continuously increases. I'll change my answer if they say there are less bots, but I don't think there will be less bots. I think people will just continuously be using AI to do more things. Could be wrong, but I'm just looking at the data.
Well, yeah, we could go a couple of different angles on this, but first and foremost, I like totally agree with you, and that does stress me out in a bunch of ways as a parent, as a person, as a company leader.
Yeah.
Um, but the something you said of like, I used to think about this from a trust standpoint, and I think you have an element here that's trust too. You're also talking about like the human desire to
Hmm.
connect and to be around people, to have a real like um I don't want to say network because that's such an internet word, but like have a real community that you're a
Yeah.
part of. And I used to think about the trust side, which is like, well, am I going to buy from anyone who I don't actually know anymore? Because I can assume someone on a Zoom who I'm seeing is actually not,
Yeah.
it could be a bot, like at a very high degree of efficacy for lots and lots of people. Maybe you could pass that test. Maybe I could pass it, but like my parents might not be able to pass it in,
Yeah.
a year, maybe right now. And so like, I think there's going to be this trust thing that happens where the trustworthiness of any digital interaction is just going to be like almost zero,
I agree.
It,
And that's why you said something very important. I wrote this down in my iPhone notes and I talked to my coach about this and I told my team this and my friends. I was like, the number one currency in the world right now is trust. You think it's money, you think it's all these other things. It's actually really not. It's trust. So now everything I think about and my lens is how do I elevate and maintain trust? If I'm doing something that diminishes that, I'm heavily reconsidering it. So I've rethought, okay, how do I want to run the way I do my business? What type of content do I need to put out? Who am I hanging out with?
mhm.
Like it gets like a deep conversation you got to have with yourself of like, if trust is the most important currency in the entire world, what do I need to do to elevate and maintain that? And then you need to find out in your life like what you're doing to do that. Because if anything is diminishing it, you probably need to reconsider it.
It's heavy. It's really heavy, and it can like get you spiral a little bit. And here's I don't know, a counter, not a counter to that, but like a maybe less common reaction, because I think some people interpret that and they think back to our original convo, like I've got to be super polished, I've got to be super professional, everything's got to be like
No, the
really
opposite
crisp.
actually.
And it's actually, yeah, it's actually like the counter, which is like I have more trust for the more human element I see versus the more whatever you want to call it, like polished and innocuous or
Mm,
whatever. Um, and it's gonna be really weird because I think we're gonna see that in like I think we've already seen this in a weird way. I think we've seen it in politics, we see it in all these different things, but like the more uh, you know, the more human people are, it's like it stands out and it kind of creates more of a connection, if that makes sense.
100%. I mean, you know Todd Capone, right?
Yeah.
His book, The Transparency Cell, right? Like it's all about that. And just to make it a real life example for somebody, I was on a podcast on Wednesday and they were asking me about a strategy that I had been talking about that I thought was going to work. And they asked me, "Hey, Morgan, did it work?" And I said, "No, it didn't work at all." I was like, "It actually went terrible." And so they started laughing and they were like, "Oh, we just appreciate you being real. Like most people would have just said it worked." And I was like, "But what's the point in that?
Right. Right.
That's
I
just
love it, dude.
that's gonna diminish trust." So I'm telling you, no, that didn't work. Here's why it didn't work. I'm not emotionally like upset about it. Like it is what it is. It sucks, but like we move on. I learned we're gonna get better. But the thing is, you have to like lead with those things and transparency. Like if I feel like a client engagement's going wrong, I literally on a call actually earlier this week. I didn't deliver the best session last week for an account executive team. I think I came with the wrong information and the expectations were off. And so I came on the call and said, "Hey, everybody, I felt like last week we had an hour together on this session. I feel like I actually like wasted y'all's time and there's probably better things y'all could have been doing, but I prepared today so that we can get back on track." Most people aren't
Yeah.
willing to do that. I
Yeah.
don't care because the only thing I care about is the maintaining and elevating trust. So when you change your commitment level to that, you start moving differently. And that's my whole entire goal.
I love that. I mean, it's like, and I also think that the examples are good because it's like saying something 7 times, 7 different ways. Like that's a very clear example of how sellers can operate, or
Yeah.
just anyone can operate. But, all right, I know we're gonna get close on time, and I want to give you. You mentioned catch 'em all, which is it's a dope reference. But I like to ask people like you, like, okay, 12 months from now,
Mm,
what are we like doing differently, or what has changed? And you kind of lay that out with your URL,
yeah.
IRL, catch them all thing. Sitting 12 months out in the future, what does that mean? What does that mean for how not just Morgan is operating, but like salesperson Bob somewhere? Like, what does that
Yeah.
mean 12 months from now?
Okay. So you want me to give both perspectives here? Like
Well, or either
me
one.
or a
Yeah.
rep
I kind
or
of think I know yours, but like I'm open to however you want to break it down.
okay, all tactically people listening in. If I'm a sales leader, I'm running an operation, I got account managers, I got SDRs or AEs or whatever you're running or you're a rep. This is the thing you should be thinking about. So I encourage you all just to start reading the stats around how AI is impacting our society and how people are becoming more lonely and how people are craving human connection. Because ultimately, sales is a psychological game and it's a human behavior game. So the better you understand society and human behavior, the better you'll be at sales, point blank. So that's why I've been doing a lot of research on it. So tactically, in 12 months from now, I think there are going to be more people that are just going to be out in the field more. We're going to go back to handshaking and getting in person because people are just going to start not believing things as much anymore. And so whether you're an SDR, I think field SDRs are going to happen. So people think that's crazy. I actually think there'll be SDRs who like their sole thing is just going to be doing lunch and learns, inviting people to lunch and learns, and going to events. People are like, that sounds crazy. I'm like, I'm just telling you what's going to happen. So you as a leader should be like, how can we get our reps in front of the customer more to not only accelerate deals, but build deeper connections in the ecosystems where our buyers live in, but then also as well, learning from our buyers. I learned so much by just being in the field and talking to people in person. I would never be able to get those insights from a LinkedIn post at all. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm telling people, think about how once a month you could do something that interacts with your customer in person. And that doesn't mean you don't have to go places. You can do this locally. You can do a local meetup. You can do something you can fly to another city and create something. You can go to an event, but I'm just telling you right now, what I'm committed to and what I'm telling teams and where I'm seeing results is doing things that connect with people. And I'll give you a prime example to let you know I'm not just making this up. Recently or early this year, I worked with a team called AppZen. They are a software that sells to controllers and finance directors with their accounts payable and their processes, things of that nature. So one of their top reps, his name is Michael, and we started working together post the sales kickoff that we did with him. We had an hour AE workshop. We had an hour SDR workshop. Michael's like, I want to take this even further. Let's work together. So we created an in-person event strategy for him to get in front of his buyers more. And he's also the number one rep at this organization, but he continuously wanted to be better. From us developing this in-person strategy and him meeting with his clients more, which he had not done as much before, he's already closed a $74,000 deal. He's already turned a deal from red to green. He's already generated Fortune 500 company pipeline, and he's already built out a VIP referral program just because he connected with people and got in person. So I'm not just telling you all this because it's like, this is a cool thing to say and it's different. It's like, no, this is actually where we're going and this is what's going to happen. So you sitting behind your computer all day long isn't going to help you. You're going to have to get in front of people. You're going to have to talk. People. That's the only way people are going to trust you, so you can elevate your game and accelerate your deals.
That's super tactical. I am fascinated by this. First of all, I think saying that there's about to be field SDRs is one of the most controversial things I've heard in the whole time I've done this series, which is awesome.
People don't like it because they're like, oh, AEs. I'm like, okay, but most AEs are not willing to do, okay, I love y'all AEs, I do, but most AEs are not willing to go in field. I know some AEs that are actually getting very active, and I think this will change. But a field SDR who's hungry and can travel, they're younger, they got energy, why would you not send them out in the field? And they're going to learn faster. It's pretty logical.
It's very logical. It's really interesting. I know we're kind of like up against the clock here, but like this to me, this principle that you're talking about applies to so many different things. And I wonder how it changes what organizations look like in, like, if you looked at the org chart of a sales org in 12 months or 16 months, are they like, I'm actually going back to what you said about like, it looks like the 90s. I'm like, oh, it does look like a big sales org in the 90s. It's like got people who are like knocking on doors and then they're sending you back to, the guy or gal who goes and gets you a steak or takes you to play golf. And then there's like someone who comes and shakes hands afterward, like make sure everything is like implemented. Like that makes a ton of sense to me, especially when there's probably like endless number of solutions that are like good or okay. Like that's what's going to happen. You're going to have like lots of solutions that are like okay because it's easy to have something, but probably on like, is it great or is it excellent? It's probably way less. And if you're trying to sell a product or make a product or sell a service that like is great or excellent, then you have to do things differently and you have to like, basically operate differently to do that. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. I mean, Lovable, Cursor, Claude. It's easier to build. I'm not saying it's easy to do it, but it's just easier. So easier. All these products can be replicated. You can go on the back end on sites and rebuild the site based on the code on the back end. Like I've seen these things. So like those things aren't like as much of a unique advantage as much as possible. The distribution, if you're thinking content is the most important, but what's even more important than that is, are you actually building trust in the ecosystem in the market? So when your name or your company name comes up, it's only good vibes. But the only way to do that is you have to go meet people in person. And I'm not saying to do this every single week. You can, but I'm saying once a month, you got to be meeting somebody in person. You got to be something.
Last thing I'll say, because it's like literally like bouncing around in my brain right now, but we used to I worked at HP a billion years ago, and like there were like territory reps. So there were like people who were inside places, and then there were people who were like literally in the territory, and like your territory was a physical amount of space somewhere. And that like has gone away. That's all inside or digital sellers who are behind a laptop screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're selling something with a sufficiently decent sized MSP, like a normal sales price, average sales price, like you're going to be out there like having those type of things again. Like that's really, really crazy. Like that would have been like a zero bet, like zero chance that happens 10 years ago. And I totally can buy into a world where that's like really common 16 months from now.
100%.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Morgan, this has been one of the most fun conversations I've had, and I want to do this again. Hopefully you'll be willing to come back on. Where can people find the real content that you're producing, the real version of you out there in the URL and the IRL space?
Yeah. So Couple of exciting things. Number one is everything I told you, I'm also doing as well. So once a month, I'm doing pickleball events. We're calling it Dink and Deals. So might need to come out to Nashville to do that as well. But we're calling it Dink and Deals, and so I'm doing that once a month. There'll be more stuff on that coming out soon. But yeah, if you're in probably a major city, probably will be coming near you. Also as well, the work that we do, the Sales Team 6, it's an outbound program to transform the way that you get pipeline across the entire organization from your SDR AEs to your account managers. And we do that in creative ways, just all the things I mentioned, but even more. And so our website is theampsocial.com if you want to check out what we're doing with the Sales Team 6. And then I'm also on LinkedIn and YouTube, Morgan J. Ingram. Very, very easy and simple to find.
Man, I highly recommend you guys seeking him out, checking him out. And I'm not a pickleballer, but I may have to swing by one of these events. Are you you're hosting these monthly? Or you're about to start hosting them monthly? Okay.
Yeah. So last one I just did was in Austin, and it was just so much fun. And people were like, they felt energized or excited. So now I'm doing the monthly. There are events I'm going to, so I'm setting them up. But yeah, I think in the plans, we got New York, San Francisco, Dallas. So I'm just going to cities. Hey, we're doing a pickleball event. Get the spot. Boom. Here we go. And we go from there.
I love it, man. Well, it's great to speak with you, and thanks so much for being on the SOS. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
All right, man.